I wanted to give a little explanation to the video you're about to watch. After years of searching for the Baby EMF automobile that was built in Strasburg, Nebraska, I found it in 2018. I discovered that it was going to be on display at the National Rally for the EMF and Flanders Automobile Collector Club in Ohio, and I was asked to come see the little car. So I traveled to Ohio. I gave a presentation, which is the recording, on that little car to that collector club, and then they were very gracious to allow me to join them on all their little outings, and I got to ride around in the hills of the Amish country of Ohio in a 1910 automobile for a couple days. It was just fantastic. So anyway, this is the recording of that speech that I gave that day, and so I hope you enjoy.
Like Bob said, I'm Charles Noyd. I'm from Strasburg, Nebraska, which is the Swede capital of Nebraska. Strasburg was founded in 1872 when a group of Swedes in Galva, Illinois decided that they needed to find more opportunities, and so they headed west. My family came to Strasburg in 1873, and I am the fifth generation of my family living in the Strasburg community. I am currently the president of the Polk County Historical Society, and many people consider me the town historian. So why did I come here? The obvious is I wanted to see the car. I was blown away when I found out it existed. I assumed that it had gone to salvage at some point and no longer was with us. And so in February, when I emailed John Daly, he emailed me back, sent me a link to some articles that Bob had written about the restoration, and I think it was around 10, 11 o'clock at night when I got it. I about fell off my chair. I texted my buddy John. He says, "When are we leaving?" and that got the ball rolling. I've researched this car for probably 10 to 12 years, off and on, looking at microfilm, searching the internet, talking to the old timers in town that remember the Swanson brothers. I got a lot of neat stories, collected pictures, newspaper articles, and I just filled a file folder and started filling a computer file. And so when the ball got rolling here, then I really had to organize my efforts of research and prepare for this day. So I want to talk about the Swansons. John and Anna Swanson left Sweden in 1871. They came to America. They settled in Polk County, Nebraska. John filed for homestead. He got his naturalization papers done. He broke ground. He built a house. He drilled a well. He did everything that was necessary to get the final proof on that homestead, and he was able to get his 80 acres of land. The Swansons lived in a dugout, much like this one. This is not the exact one. So you see the sod walls that would have been built into an area that was already a low area. And they raised, over 16 years, they had 9 children. 7 of them lived to be adults. Nels Ezekiel Swanson was born in 1872. He was the second child of John and Anna Swanson. He went to school until about the 5th grade. Being the oldest son, I would assume that he spent more time working on the farm than he did in the classroom. Those early pioneers, they had to be able to fix everything, and I'm sure Nils learned a lot of skills helping his father on the farm that would come in handy down the road. He became well known in the area as a skilled carpenter as well as a skilled mechanic. In 1896, Nels was able to acquire his first patent. This is a broomcorn press, and Nels also assisted some other locals who had patents for musical instruments. He helped them build the musical instruments. Throughout his years, he continued to create and invent. In 1906, he got a patent for a clutch assembly, and in 1924, he acquired a patent for a closure device for a pressure cooker. This is Enoch Alex Swanson, E.A. Swanson. And he was born in 1879. He was the sixth child of John and Anna Swanson. He was able to go to school till about the 10th grade. He went to work for the local jewelry store. He learned watchmaking skills, became a watchmaker for the jeweler. He also had a flair for invention, and in 1924 he patented an air pump that ran off of the tire on a car. You had to jack the tire up. And he also patented in 1929 a barn door latch. Alex decided to leave the watchmaking business and go into business with his brothers Herman and Nils in the bicycle business. And if you see in the advertisement, they claimed they could fix anything that landed between the jewelry store and the blacksmith shop. They also claimed that they were the place to go to get your lawnmower sharpened, gun repair, machine work, brazing. They could build or fix bicycles. They were doing everything. But things were about to change. The automobile industry was really taking off in the States. And in 1901, Dr. Charles Flippen bought the first automobile in Stromsburg. Came in on the train. Dr. Flippen is a very interesting character in Stromsburg history. He was a freed slave. He fought in the U.S. colored troops in the Civil War. And him and his wife both were doctors, and they had a clinic in Stromsburg. Dr. Flippen quickly became friends with Alex Swanson. He wanted to go fast, and he knew Alex was the guy to get him there. And over the years in the newspaper, it seemed constant that Alex Swanson was building a car for Dr. Flippen, or he was modifying a car for Dr. Flippen. It may have been he was taking the 4-horsepower motor out of his car and putting an 8 in. And then he took the 8 out and he put a 12 in. And eventually he built him a car that had a 24-horse motor in it. This is an example. This is the Flippen Infirmary. That one, there's a lot more trees around. But these are both cars of Dr. Flippen. This one actually says Doctors Flippen because it was him and his wife. Two unheard of things, a black doctor in an all-Swedish town and a woman doctor. Alex decided that he found a motorized bicycle in 1903, and he decided, I'm going to build myself an automobile. And so he modified the bicycle, and over several weeks they talked in the paper about Alex's project and how it was coming, and then they came out and said, Alex Swanson has discarded his bicycle and is riding in an auto of his own make. So the Swansons, they built about a half dozen automobiles that I've found for different clients in Stromsburg. They were like a runabout type automobile. And then they started to sell automobiles that other manufacturers had made. They sold some Fords, they sold a lot of Buicks, they sold some Northerns, and they sold EMF and Flanders. I have some examples of the ads from their EMF days. Cars look familiar, guys? An investor in Stromsburg decided that these guys needed a better place to build and sell cars. And so this investor built this building, and it was completed in 1909, and it was known around town as the Big Garage. In this picture, Swanson is on the left in the car, and Nils Swanson is in the right. I love old photographs. I love looking at the details. There's one detail about this photograph I'm going to point out. If you look on the glass, it says Flanders 20 and EMF 30. Currently, that building is our Napa Auto Parts store. So the first mention of the little car was in 1909. In January 1909, the newspaper was given a little glimpse. They got a sneak peek of what's the Swanson brothers up to now. And so they came over and they looked it over, and they said that they built this car to show off their skills. They wanted the world to know they could do anything. I say it's the equivalent of building a good website today, that they wanted to drive their business. They wanted people to know that if you needed something done, they were the place to go. The newspaper helped them out a lot. They had a lot of press. Our newspaper put stuff in it constantly. Started to get out in the area, maybe in 50, 60, 70 miles away. But they were a Stromsburg wonder. They claimed that they built every piece, or they were involved in every piece of the car. They drew up blueprints of the engine. They took them to a foundry in Lincoln, and the foundry cast all the parts. They did everything except they were researching how to make tires, and a tire rep stopped in and said, "We'll make the tires." And so they started the ball rolling, but they didn't complete the making of tires. So that's the one part they claimed they didn't make. Like I said, the local newspaper wrote about them constantly, and soon it'll be across the whole country will be writing about them, because they're heading to the Chicago Auto Show. This picture is probably the most famous picture. It's in the Stromsburg history book. People bought postcards. I've seen them on eBay. This picture is the most well-known picture. If you notice in this photograph, there's no windshield. This young lady in the postcard is Nels Swanson's daughter. Her name was Ella Prudence Swanson. I researched Ella. She never was married. She passed away in California in 1999. Once again, in this photograph, it's the light color. The brothers, in the specs that I had handed out here, it says it's white flake with blue pinstripes. Here it is in Chicago with what they say was its big brother. And if you notice on here, there's a windshield. It's still white, but it has a two-piece windshield. Now it currently only has a one-piece. The newspapers that wrote about it after the Chicago Auto Show, I just made a sampling of them. Winnipeg, Connecticut, Oregon, San Francisco, Minneapolis, just all over the country, coast to coast and even out of the country, wrote about the little car. It also was in some trade publications and magazines. Motor Age had a little blurb about it. The Motor World wrote, "Nebraskans built littlest car." The Cycle and Automobile Trade Journal wrote about it. And here, this photograph adds some confusion. The car's dark, obviously. And one of the stories that's come out of this is they built more than one car. And another interesting part of this postcard is the value. The Swanson brothers said they had so many man hours wrapped up in this car that it was worth $5,000 in 1910. You could buy a Pierce Arrow automobile for $4,000 to $6,000 in 1910. You could order a house out of the Sears catalog for $1,200 to $4,000. It's the equivalent of probably $125,000 to $150,000 today. They claimed that they wouldn't even have sold it at that price. I doubt that. So anyway, the color, back to the color. After the Chicago Auto Show, EMF fell in love with this car. They made an agreement with the Swanson brothers that they wanted to show it off. And so it went to the Omaha Auto Show in Nebraska, it went down to Kansas City. From Kansas City, it went to the EMF factory. They wanted to paint it the color of the car they were showing at the auto shows. And so in this photograph, that is the same car. So after it was painted, then EMF took it with them, presumably to auto shows all over the country, and they displayed it as the Baby EMF. There is some rumors that the car went overseas to Europe. Now, some of the discrepancies. There's a story of the engine. The engine is gone, everyone knows that. And the story is that in 1926 it was stolen. In 1932, Stromsburg was writing its first history book. So they reached out to the Swanson brothers, and Alex responded, and he said that his brother had retired to Denver, the car was with him, and that it was in good running order. That can be disputed. It doesn't really matter. I don't know, but we know that the engine was stolen when it was in Denver. Whether it's true or not, maybe Nils just didn't have the courage to tell his brother Alex back in Strasbourg that the engine had been stolen. Some of my research, in 1971, someone wrote an article or just a little blurb in the Horseless Carriage Gazette, sent this picture and wanted to know, where's the little car? That prompted Mr. Dick Teague to respond. He was the current owner, and he pretty much lays out the lineage of the ownership in this letter to the editor of the Horseless Carriage Gazette. Alex wasn't done. He decided that he wanted to build a miniature steam tractor. And in 1933, they had a big celebration to show off the miniature steam tractor. They pulled wagon loads of kids up and down the streets in Strasbourg. Some of the neighboring towns borrowed the steam tractor to promote open houses. I am currently on the trail to find the steam tractor. This is a picture of it in the 1950s. A gentleman whose father owned it had 2 photographs. I know that it sold on an auction 15 miles from Strasbourg in 1982. And so it also survived World War II, the salvage drive. And I'm optimistic that I'm going to find it. There's a picture of it steamed up. So that's my new project. Are there any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned the fact that there was rumors that more than one car was built. Did you yourself ever find any evidence to
No.
substantiate that?
No, I think it all came from the fact that there was 2 colors of cars. I think that was what got that rumor going.
So you compared photos of the dark one with photos of the white one, and they are the same?
Yes, they are, and I also found the story of when it was painted and why. Go ahead, Daryl.
Are there any indications about when EMF gets the car to use for themselves, did they pay them for that?
I've not found anything on that,
Not found anything
no.
on that.
And all it really said was that they would take it to all the big shows from coast to coast, and I've not found really any evidence of that it went. There, like I said, there's rumor that it went to maybe Paris, but I don't know, I haven't found documentation.
But ultimately, though EMF had it and used it, changed the color.
Yeah.
It came back to the original owners.
Yes, it did. Yes, yep. The Swansons got it back, and like I said, when Nils retired in Strasbourg, he took it with him to Denver, and that's where the engine was stolen.
Yeah, actually, if I can add a minute, if you'll remember when I was over to visit you in December of 2015, at that point, we were debating what color do we paint this thing, because we'd seen the newspaper reproductions where it was a light color, and we had the postcard where it was a dark color. And we were going back and forth trying to decide which way to go, and we ultimately decided to try to make it look like a factory-built 1910 EMF,
Yeah.
which is the dark blue with yellow.
Any other questions or comments? The flyer that was handed out, that is a reproduction of an original flyer that was put out presumably in 1910.
Super. That's cute.
Well, is the drivetrain, the transaxle, is that still active? Or is that a shell?
No, it's, the way they built it apparently is they did not use a transaxle. It's got a 2-speed forward and reverse transmission right behind the clutch.
Okay.
And then it's got a bevel gear type rear axle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are there any family members still generations down, or?
So Alex never was married. He never had any children. Nils did have children. I've really struggled to get contact with any of them. Now, Alex and Nils' siblings, I just finally, right before we came, a couple days before we came, one of them responded to me. He lives about 3.5 hours away. He said he has photos and maybe some information. I'm very interested in my project, and so in the next couple of weeks I'll probably be making a trip out to see him. I don't know if he'll have anything that I don't have, but when I brought up the steam tractor, he says, I have a picture of a small steam tractor pulling wagon loads of kids. And I went, yeah, that's it. But as far as the car, maybe he'll have a photo I don't have, but I don't know if he will or not. So,
Was the company successful in selling the EMF automobile?
I found a handful of them in the paper. They would announce so-and-so got an EMF. I don't know. I don't know if they published all the times that they sold an EMF. I found, I'm gonna say, between 6 and 10 different accounts where it actually made it in the paper that someone purchased an EMF. And I've started to research those families to see if they have anything left, the people who bought the EMFs from them.
So wouldn't that make them competition to the Studebaker brothers selling the automobiles?
Who?
Swanson brothers?
They were selling the real EMFs though, and the Flanders.
But so was Studebaker.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know.
So,
You guys are way more up on the history of the EMF Studebaker conflict than I am, and how all that worked.
Gut wrench.
Yeah, go ahead.
What scale is it in relation to the full size?
Bob, you had an
It's
opinion.
about 40%. A real EMF was, got it somewhere over here. A real EMF was a 108-inch wheelbase, and this one's a 44-inch wheel, so it's about 41% scale.
If you don't have any more questions for me at this time, I've got the horseless carriage because I've got my research binder. If anybody wants to look through it, you're welcome to look through it. Otherwise, I think, Bob, you can address more of the more modern history of it.
Well, we got a big time gap.
Yeah.